Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Tesla. It is time for another update, and today we focus here on the daily time frame where we have been tracking this idea of an ending diagonal. We are looking for a 5-wave pattern to unfold in a 1, 2, 3, 4 and a 5 to complete the structure. And for context, we would be within the 5th wave of a larger wave tree in our main interpretation. If you wanted the full story, you can check out our previous videos. And we usually detail every single time frame, but I haven't been feeling the best in the last days, and I try to keep that to a minimum until I get better. Now, in this structure, in this time frame, we are tracking an ending diagonal. That means that we are only looking to build ABC structures within each of the subwaves of the larger 5-wave pattern. We have here within the wave 1 an ABC structure. We are considering an ABC structure in a wave 2, and we are looking for an ABC structure within a wave 3. Now, currently we only have the wave 1 and 2 complete, and we are looking for the wave 3 to complete its movement before we look for another larger retracement. And for the ideal target for this wave 3, we are looking at the 138.2% extension of the wave 1, that is around the $610 level area. Now, that is the ideal target for the wave 3. We strongly expect to get there, and based on the internal structure, I don't really see an issue for it to achieve such levels. In fact, the ideal target for the wave C, based on the internal structure within this wave 3, is the 100% extension of the wave A, which is around the $750 level. Now, for the wave C, it's not as much of a hard requirement as it is for the wave 3 itself, because for the wave 4 to be tracked reliably, the wave 3 is expected to reach its ideal target. But for the wave C, it is certainly an ideal target it is drawn towards, but it doesn't need to get there and it doesn't need to stop there. Oftentimes, we only reach, for example, the 78.6% extension. Sometimes we exceed it and go even to the 138.2% extension of the wave A. It's not a hard rule, but it's the more common region to look for a completion within a wave C. Now, based on the internal structure, I would argue that it should be no issue at all to reach those levels even within a potential ending diagonal. At this point, we are tracking both a diagonal and an impulse within this wave C. Both are still very much possible, and currently the impulse would be preferred for me because it would provide us better opportunities, but realistically we cannot really discern too much based on the current structure, because while I do prefer that we hold here our last level of support, the $386 level, I cannot guarantee that will happen, and I don't have very strong evidence that we have bottomed within this correction already. Now, as you can see, we would currently be within an internal wave 3 in this area. I actually would like to even change the degree for this, but within this wave 3 we have basically a double 1 2 1 2 setup, a third wave up. We are looking for the fourth wave correction, and then we would need basically a double 4-5 pattern to complete the actual wave 3. Now, we are actually missing a count within this area, but I believe it would just add clutter without a lot of value given the current structures. Now, sure, I could actually even remove this internal one. So for context, we have been tracking a possible extension within this 5th wave, and we have been tracking this green structure for a potential 1-2 setup. Unfortunately, the area of support did not manage to hold. Technically, this hasn't been fully invalidated, but the likelihood of this structure still succeeding is next to zero, to be honest, and I will not be tracking this interpretation any longer. I will consider that we have a top within this area and that we are looking for a larger correction, either within this idea of an impulse where we must hold the $386 level, or within the idea of a potential diagonal structure where we can allow a deeper retracement, and an updated area of support for a potential wave B would be at the levels between the $396.4 all the way down to the $311.1. Now, ideally, for the clarity of the chart, it would be best to hold the area of support in white because an impulse will be much easier to track and will provide us better opportunities for the long term. I cannot promise that this will be the case, but I will focus on this idea as long as it is possible, and below the $311 level, well, we would start to look at potentially more bearish structures, potentially even much more bearish scenarios. Now, before we go into the smaller time frame, I will remove this diagonal structure in the wave C from the chart because we want to have a more clear focus. And I wanted to briefly mention our channel newsletter where you will get access to our monthly top picks where we identify for you those high value stocks, those high value assets that can provide reliable structures to actually trade. This may not be a great example. We have much better opportunities than on Tesla, I believe, at the moment, at least in terms of structure. And we will provide the list, we will handpick the stocks, and you can follow them along with us on the channel. The link for sign up is in the description and it is completely free. But if you enjoy the content and you want to support us, you can check out our channel membership. The link for that is in the description as well, or you can click the join button and you will get access to additional content, videos that don't really perform because not a lot of people are interested in these stocks, but I still believe they offer great opportunities and I do still want to cover them for those of you who definitely want to know of all the interesting opportunities and want coverage of them. Now back to the chart. Here we have been tracking within a smaller time frame an initial 5-wave move to the downside in a wave A within this area, and we have been looking with high probabilities for continuation to lower prices in a wave C since we did form the initial 5-wave structure. Now, I have to say there is a possibility that the wave A would have bottomed here instead and that we would have here a wave B top. Many ways we could be tracking this count really, but this shouldn't be our focus in my opinion because while we are able to track different patterns within this area, we still have the same larger area of support for continuation to higher prices within the idea of an impulse. Doesn't really matter exactly what count is unfolding in this push to the downside as long as we have a clearly defined area of resistance and a clearly defined area of support. So right now I would focus again on the 50% retracement, the $386 level. We have structural support around this area still. We did almost push into it with this latest descent to the downside. And in the previous video, I even provided you this area of resistance that was highly relevant for a potential A, B, C structure up to the $444 level. Now, on the larger structure, once again, we remain focused on the last level of support for the white interpretation for the idea of an impulse. We still have support below that, but not within an impulse. And internally within this area, we have a level of resistance in of itself. And I would have to consider that the third wave would still be ongoing or that this would be instead the wave 1 down and this would be a wave 2 up, because otherwise the area of resistance would have already been broken for a potential wave 4 correction within this area where it ended at the 61.8% retracement. That is already a good sign that we aren't building another wave to the downside within this area in this ending diagonal in a wave C we are tracking, and we have our first indication that a bottom may be in place. Now, once again, we discarded the possibility of having a wave 3 bottom in this area and looking for a fourth and a fifth to extend to even lower prices. So we are looking for the next level of resistance. We will keep looking for potential relevant resistance levels because they increase our probabilities for a breakout. They define levels we want to see broken that provide information to us that one pattern or the other is more likely to form. So for me, I would focus either on a third wave extending still, where this would have been an A wave down, we would have here a B wave up, and we would extend even to lower prices within a wave C. And in this case, we would be watching the $437.7 level. We have already pushed within this area, and we would be looking at a very strong signal if we manage to get a breakthrough. So on the bullish side, we can even identify a potential initial 5-wave structure, but it's not going to be the most reliable one. the pattern can be considered to be very much misleading, and I wouldn't trust it for a trade setup necessarily by itself, but we are also within the larger area of support in white, and I can be looking here for a potential 1-2 setup, and to look for a third, fourth, and fifth to complete the pattern, and we can look for an area of support. Now, this would be within a leading diagonal, and the pattern that has been forming to the downside so far is quite corrective, so that is an additional good sign. So this far, we have a couple of good indications for our overall structure. We have an area of resistance that can be considered broken. We have an initial 5-wave structure, a weak one, but it is there. And we have a corrective pattern into our area of support. Now, if we break below the $397 level, it would be, for me, quite a good indication that we should be looking for an extension to lower prices still. And sure, we might be looking for the 50% retracement to hold us in the end, but there is no guarantee. I have to say, if we manage to maybe build here a wave 4 instead and a fifth wave in this area, might have been a more reasonable area to form a bottom, but if we extend to lower prices, at this point I would be inclined to believe that the blue structure would be more likely, that the white interpretation of an impulse would end up failing, and that we would really push beyond the 50% retracement. So for me, the $397 level is actually quite important. And for now, I'm waiting to see an additional signal that a bottom is in place. And for now, there really isn't much else to add. These are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.